Can I just get you guys' MVP rankings? Just your top 3. Just let me get your top 3 right now. Don't think about it.
Okay.
Off the cuff. Go.
I'll go first only because I'll admit the past week of basketball been out of the game, but I'm gonna tell you something now. I ain't need last week to tell you that my number 1 is Luka Doncic. I'm unapologetic about it, and I think it's kind of rather clear unless you're really gonna go the win route. But considering this whole generation has been about the win route sometimes not mattering, I'm one of them in a situation because he's just been there the whole time. 2, I will say, hey, if we have to put some wins on that board, it's a coin flip between, for me, SGA and Jokic. I've debated that against the wall, so comment below who's your second and who's your third. But I think it's, for one, it's, I'm not somebody, I know he's the GOAT, but like, for real, I think it's actually Luka. And then 2 and 3 is debatable, but literally on a game by game between SGA and Jokic.
For me, I'm gonna go Jokic number 1. I think he's had the best combination of winning and statistics out of everyone. He's been the most consistent out of everyone. And then I'm gonna go. It's a toss up for me, honestly, between Luka, SGA, and Giannis. So honestly, it doesn't matter what order you want to put those 3 in. But right now, if I had to put a dot on it, I'm gonna go Luka, SGA, and then Giannis. Out of those 4,
Giannis is a good name. I ain't mentioned this.
For me personally, I'm gonna go. Would have been Embiid, but he got hurt, so obviously,
yeah.
Luka, Jokic, and then first. Nah, I can't even say these too low. Luka and Jokic is running away from me. Running away from me. It's really those 2.
You don't even think SGA is it?
Oh, and SGA. I would say SGA 3 and 4.
Okay. So I noticed a theme. Nobody said Jayson Tatum.
Uh-oh. I know where this might be going, guys. Are you ready?
Yeah. Nobody said Jayson Tatum. And a bunch of guys have theories as to why a guy like Tatum isn't in this conversation. They might be clowns. I want to start with Draymond before we get into Jayson Tatum's comments, though. Because he himself, from my understanding, said something about it. What is it? Start with? Okay. Let's hear Draymond. Friend of the show, correspondent on the ground.
So the MVP race right now, Joker is the favorite on DraftKings. SGA, Luka, Giannis, and Tatum, the next 4. You know, sometimes it's like that team is winning and that guy's the best player and playing well. Clearly, the goalpost has shifted dramatically. Because in this guy's case, he's 5th, and they got a 7.5 game lead. That goalpost is moving on JT. I don't know what JT got to do. I do know what JT got to do. I told y'all last time what JT got to do. JT will not be taken serious for the MVP until he wins a championship. And it just hasn't been that way for everybody else, I must say. It's not that way for Joker. It's not that way for Giannis. Not that way for
Embiid.
Joel. I mean, golly, that is brutal. Young fella, I don't know how the goalpost moved on you like that. But they should acknowledge it because those are the facts.
Facts over feelings.
I like it when Draymond speaks, man. Correspondent on the ground. Draymond Green. Some would say. Why did you guys skip over Jayson Tatum in your MVP rankings?
Well, I'm gonna go first since this is my guy. He just hasn't had a better season than the 4 guys I named. It comes as simple as that. You can give Jayson Tatum credit for the season he's having, for the way he's been leading this team and being the best player on the best team in the league, without involving him in the MVP discussion. I think people are not used to a guy who's led his team to the best record in the league or second best record in the league, back-to-back years putting up good numbers, yet has never won an MVP. I would like to ask chat when the last time that has happened, because I don't think it's ever happened before. But the MVP to me is always based off of an 82-game sample size. It is a regular season only award. It should not take into account any seasons prior expectations. It's just who is playing better in this 82-game season. And if you look at statistically, the 4 guys are putting up better numbers than him and they're winning as well. It's not like they're losing, aside from maybe Luka, but even Luka, and the Mavs, they just came from like a 7-game winning streak that ended last night, so they're winning too. And it's really as simple as that, dog.
Yeah, for me, Tatum wasn't there because, like I said, I haven't even been up to tabs in the last week of basketball. I'm shameless and I'm in that. I'm gonna watch hella basketball this week, unfortunately, because goddamn, I need to make this up. But what I mean by that, what I bring that up to say is that all season long, what I've heard about Jayson Tatum in the narrative is that he's sacrificing his numbers for wins, and that's fine. He's still sacrificing his numbers, so it doesn't. I can't say because he's doing something out of good faith that he's simultaneously gonna warrant winning the award, especially when, as Bezos mentioned, you just look at the statistics. I mean, I don't hate Jayson Tatum, and he's wearing fucking green. But at the end of the day, Jokic is just clearing him. So there's a minimal argument you have over a guy like Nikola Jokic, and then obviously I think Luka is just shitting on everybody. It's a matter of wins. So at the end of the day, Tatum couldn't be playing winning basketball, and that's fine. We've always had conversations about who the best player in the world is and how that person is an MVP. If the best player in the world or the person that's playing the most winningest basketball were to win MVP award every time, LeBron would have maybe 15. I'm like, not going, no cap. It is what it is. So at the end of the day, if even the Celtics fans, if he's making this sacrifice and playing the winningest basketball, that's fine, but it doesn't move the needle in terms of winning MVP. Now, he is in the top 5. I think that's kind of fair to say, kind of easy to say, to be honest. But as Damo alluded to earlier, that 5 spot is kind of vastly different from that 3 and maybe even 4 if you include Giannis.
Yeah.
I think for me, the only reason why I didn't include him is, I mean, I don't want to just sit here and retweet everything that y'all saying, but y'all kind of hit the nail right on the head. This team isn't winning enough for me to justify the dip in production compared to everyone else that's in the race. It's not just like, oh, Jayson Tatum is on this team clearing the NBA, and these guys are just putting up great numbers, but they have no chance. No, I mean, the Celtics number 1 team in the NBA, 45 wins. There's 2 teams in the West battling for first with 40, and both of those players I had in my conversation, and one of them is vastly outproducing Jayson Tatum. SJ is vastly outproducing him in terms of scoring and just other things that he's doing. So, I mean, he just doesn't have the case production-wise, and he doesn't have the case narrative-wise, because if the narrative this year was to give it to the best player on the best team, then he's absolutely going to win. But it's just not narrative fitting this year. I think the narrative just isn't in his favor.
Let me read some stuff from Jayson Tatum, and y'all may have already answered it, but I'll spin the block. Jayson Tatum says, I don't have the points per game that the other 3 or 4 guys will, but I think the voters are smart enough to understand the dynamic of our team. Essentially having to do less scoring maybe on certain nights, but still impact the game in a lot of ways to kind of ensure that we win every single night. I want to play his video talking about it, because really this stems from what he feels is disrespect from voters or commentators, really, about his chances of winning the MVP and what they do consider and what they don't consider.
Yeah. I mean, there's been a lot of talk about that the last couple of days. And, you know, those guys are putting up ridiculous numbers every night and doing a lot for their team. You know, I have no problem with those guys being the leaders of, you know, the MVP race. You know, I wasn't saying that, you know, I needed to be first. I just had a problem with, you know, some people on TV saying that, you know, the reason why I won't win this year is because of something that happened 2 years ago. That was my only disconnect. There's a lot of talented guys in this league right now. There's a lot of guys doing great things. You know, I won't have the points per game that, you know, the other 3-4 guys will. But I think, you know, the voters are smart enough to understand the dynamic of our team. You know, essentially having to do less, you know, scoring maybe on certain nights, but still impact the game in a lot of ways to, you know, kind of ensure that we win every single night, that we're in, you know, first place, that we're trying to be the best team, that everybody on the team feels valued, right? That it's not just about me, because you know, I'm going to need everybody, you know, down this stretch
Shut up.
Damn.
And the years he's talking about they mentioned him losing to Miami. They said, I don't know what Jayson Tatum is going to do against like Jimmy Butler when he faces him up, which I don't think, Celtics fans are still afraid of that. They talked about Giannis as well.
I know the clip you're talking about. That's a little bit out of context.
Is it?
Yeah, because I watched it. It was after a TNT game, and it was Bob Myers talking, and he was just talking about the questions that the Celtics team has to face moving forward. And like a part of that is the questions that Jayson Tatum has to answer, but that had nothing to do with the MVP conversation.
I think there was another clip though, and I'll find it. I think it's from, but nonetheless, I do think those things matter though when we talk about MVP voting and stuff. Like people take those things into consideration. The playoff fails that you had in the previous year. I don't think it helps that he has a lot of help. And it's not a bad thing, you're in a great situation, but it just does not help that you have a lot of help. It's getting harder and harder for people like to really determine if he should be MVP or if he shouldn't be, or what those numbers look like. I should probably say it's harder to determine.
He is right though, in the sense of like, yeah, if he was on a team with less help and had more offensive load, like his numbers probably would be higher. He was able to score 30 points a game already on a stacked team last season. Imagine with more touches, I could see him averaging the 33, 34 points per game that some of these dudes are averaging. So I see it, but just when it comes to this MVP discussion, I just don't necessarily know how he's tying that in. And I do think while the conversation around the MVP winner now is much more nuanced than it ever has been, like it is not just winning bias, it is not just statistical bias like a decade ago. What I will say is, and I think this is like what Tatum is like showing with the statements and the conversation, is like motherfuckers are dead ass confused as to what an MVP is now, because there was precedence and it was being followed relatively consistently, but now that it isn't, it's like, all right, what are we basing this award on? But
I mean, I guess I don't agree, but I agree, but it's gonna change every single year, buddy, and it's okay to not win it every single year. I guess where I want to go now is because this is a conversation that I've been seeing on my timeline, at least in regards to this. We got to say that he's better than somebody to have him in these MVP conversations, and one name that they keep throwing around is Luka. So is Jayson Tatum better than Luka?
No. No.
The main argument would be like the two-way shit. I've heard a lot of people
you'd have to die on the hill that Luka is a cataclysmically awful, horrid, nightmarish of a bad defender, while Tatum is also literally one of the best in the world, because everything else Luka does, I'm sorry, is just straight up better than Jayson Tatum. So you'd have to die on that hill to have an argument. I won't say the argument doesn't exist, because it does, but it's a very dishonest argument. It's kind of like who's better, Drew Holiday or Curry type shit. Now, obviously not to the same level, because Tatum's way better in that comparison.
This might be Damon stuff.
Yeah, something like that, to be honest.
They bring up head-to-head numbers too, because at the head-to-head, like when you roll the ball out there never is like a big gap between the two, especially the last 2 years. But
what, wins wise or
both? I think wins wise and like statistically.
This is one of the things I saw. It's nasty that it's from Celtics.
I hate these graphics.
That's insane.
Oh my God, man. Because it's just about what category you want to put up there. If I turn scoring into step back threes, floaters, runners, all that shit, and it made it to where there's more checks for Luka, then, man.
Does he have
longevity?
Yeah, I was gonna ask some of these
questions. Peak is crazy. I'm not
going. Longevity by 1 year.
Who do y'all think is a better scorer?
Luka.
I think Luka's a better scorer.
Luka's a better scorer.
But Tatum's more versatile. But
that maybe is the argument. I honestly disagree with that, to be honest. But if he was more versatile, Luka's just like I know he's not as athletic. Luka's way deadlier inside the paint, and then not to mention the shot creation. I think Luka's just better. I think he just clears him. I'm not gonna lie.
Crazy. Shooting.
You know, that used to be.
That
used to be no shit Tatum. Now it's pretty close. I'm going to harp on Jayson Tatum because he's proven to be a better shooter more. But, hey, don't.
He's shooting like 35% on like 9 threes a game. And I think
no,
Luka this season is shooting like closer to 40 on similar volume. So
Damn.
he's taking harder shots. So
that white boy is good.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Now, if y'all don't think that's a consistent thing for Luka, which fair enough, he's had some seasons where that's not even close. But I would argue, to be honest, that's development.
I think he's great. I think first two for me is Luka. Playmaking.
Luka by a mile.
Luka. To be honest, that should be 2-3 checks. Luka clears.
Rebounding.
Yeah, I don't know. I would say Tatum won that. I would say Luka.
It's about the
I don't know. I could argue Tatum. I mean, Luka is definitely a good rebounder, but I could see the argument for Tatum. I would lean Tatum.
This was the wash for me.
It is very close.
Perimeter defense.
Tatum.
Perimeter, I'd say gun to my head. I'm not going to be a stats guy. I go Tatum.
Man, Luka's defense is definitely underrated.
It's been good. It's been good.
Interior defense.
Tatum, but it's like, why does that matter in a conversation about small forwards? I guess. But,
especially considering one of them we view as a point guard. I don't know why this is here, but I would go Tatum.
Yeah, Tatum.
Longevity.
Now that I don't know how you argue Tatum.
It is Tatum. I mean,
that's great.
Longer.
Yeah. Are we talking like who started their career off better, or are we talking who do we assume is going to have more longevity? To be honest, either way, I might go Luka. I mean, Tatum has more years in the league. I guess he has more iconic playoff moment.
If the question is who's been a superstar for longer, that would actually go towards Luka because he's been a superstar since like 2020, and Tatum wasn't a superstar to me till like 21. So
I don't know why longevity.
The answer is easy, Luka. If we're talking about longevity, we're talking about the former EuroLeague MVP and EuroLeague Finals MVP. Been playing pro ball since he was the age of 15, 16 years old, and dominating competition. Going Luka.
Okay. Peak.
Luka eviscerates.
I'm going Luka.
Luka on his best day is significantly better.
Damn. Yeah, it is. It's Luka.
Okay. And then playoffs.
Barging on my door. Damn.
Playoffs. Luka. Tatum's more proven in the playoffs, but Luka's production in the playoffs.
Man. What does that mean?
He's been in the playoffs more years, and we have a bigger sample size of how successful he can be in deeper runs. But hey, I'm still going Luka, so don't get on my case.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I guess it depends what you care about. Who makes the playoffs more versus who plays better in them. I think in terms of playing better in them, you have minimal argument to not say Luka here. But Tatum does get there and consistently go further. So I guess I'll say Luka's a better performer still. Yeah, I guess I'll say Luka still.
Yeah.
Hold on quick, y'all.
Yeah. So I guess my next question, wow. Bezos and Damo get this one because there's some in the oven. What does Luka? I know. What does Tatum have to do? What does a player on a good team have to do to supersede? And I think this is a good question because, going forward in the NBA, we are going to see a lot, and I mean a lot of great players put up great numbers, have, statistical anomalies. Remember, right now it's probably, and it sounds crazy, but right now is the worst it's going to be going forward. Right? Tomorrow's going to be better, more efficient, more players, better, more efficient. But if you're on a good team, you're not going to get these looks like he's saying. So what does a player like a Tatum in a Tatum situation have to do in order to win an MVP? If there's going to be a guy, and I want to know how it shakes out this year, but like we said, Jokic is putting up crazy numbers. Luka's putting up crazy numbers. SGA is putting up crazy numbers. How does a guy like Tatum get into this conversation?
I think for me, it would be upping his efficiency. It'd be upping his efficiency. Like he can have the same shots that he has right now, but if he's shooting, I don't know, closer to 50% or 53% from the field, if that 35 is closer to 38, if that 80 is closer to 86, if he's already averaging 28 with the efficiency that he's having right now, inherently the numbers are going to go up too, right? So we're looking at a dude, best record in the league averaging 32, 33 points a game on 50, 40, 85 splits. Now, the winning gap is going to have to there has to be a significant gap because, every single year, Jokic is still going to put up the 26, 12, and 8. Every single year, Giannis is still going to put up his 30, 13, and 6. Luka's going to put up his 33, 9, and 7. So the efficiency gap really needs to be there, and the winning gap needs to be there. If he can make a case at the end of the year that he's a two-way player who's giving you 33 a night on great efficiency and winning like crazy, that's an MVP to me. But
I think for me, it's super simple. Up his production. That's honestly really it. He just has to have the numbers to match with what the rest of these guys are doing, unless or the team just has to win on a bigger scale. Not a bigger scale, but increase the gap between the rest of the league. Show all right, if I'm sacrificing these numbers, we are winning tremendously compared to the rest of the league. I'm just not seeing it. That's the one thing that is holding it back for me now from being in that conversation.
Yeah, I'm presuming based on what you guys are saying, it's what would Tatum need to accomplish to win either this one or future ones.
It's on that realm, but what I was saying was that teams, again, what we're seeing now from players and their stats is only going to get better, right? They're going to get more efficient, put up more numbers, et cetera, et cetera. So if you're going to have guys who are going to put up numbers like this on this level, and then you have guys who are going to be on good teams who can't put up that production, but still look like great, dominant players, best players on best teams, how do those guys get into the MVP conversation if over here somebody's putting up 30 points on 70 true shooting percentage while attempting 12, 14, 15 threes a game?
Yeah. It would take, unless, and this is obviously the caveat, I don't know if that's the word. This is obviously a game changer if the narrative behind this award just drastically changes. If the book check nerd ass fans start having a revolution of just fuck the stats, who's winning the most on best team, and or just some America rule shit. So they just start hoeing these Euro guys that are putting up the numbers and by definition being allowed to win the award. Unless something unforeseen like that happens, I'd say, to be honest, I was going to say what Damo said, but even more strict. I don't think Tatum getting his production up will necessarily matter if he's not having a more productive season than someone else. But if he's winning significantly more, I ain't gonna lie, nobody's doing it, bro. And for right now, I think he has 5 games on OKC, 6 games on Denver, and about 8 on Dallas. Obviously, it's an extreme exaggeration, everybody. But for example, if the Celtics only had 7 losses at this point, which would put them on an insane pace, I think everybody's just gonna have Tatum there because it's all right, well, you tell this team to lose. So I think that's where it's gonna have to be, because the way that this generation of fans view basketball now, they view who doesn't have help severely. They've always wanted that. The LeBron era has definitely been a pioneer of that. Now it's really a thing okay, but who are you playing with? They're always going to care if you're winning, but not being the most winningest. I think that's where Tatum has fallen short. Not even this year, but in the past couple of years. As Souls mentioned earlier, Tatum averaged 30 last season, and he weren't even top 3. It on many people's list. So yeah, I think it's a matter of that winning gap just has to be that severe, because if someone's more productive than you and they're still winning, I don't think it's gonna matter.
I don't even think it's a winning thing to be. I mean, winning has to be a part of the conversation, but I don't see how Tatum can't put a similar MVP case the way Shai's putting up right now. Shai isn't the dude giving you a 30-point triple-double every single night like the 3 other candidates that have been in the conversation the last 3 years. Shai's giving you 30, 6.6, and 5.5. Those are numbers that Tatum is capable of doing. A little less assists, a little bit more rebounds. And Shai, the crazy thing about Shai's efficiency, the crazy thing about Shai's season is the efficiency. So that's why I just point to the efficiency, because if he's taking the same shots and that the efficiency just looks better, which I think that's my problem with Tatum's season. He has all this help, all this spacing, yet your efficiency is still this. You should be KD levels of efficiency with this amount of help. If he just ups his efficiency, which is going to up his scoring inherently, I think that's literally all he needs. He already got the winning. Hell, even the narrative push is already on his side. That's all he needs.
Does that cap you out though at like 4? Because I remember when they were having that conversation about Devin Booker, and the amount of help he had on that Phoenix team. They were first in the West. They were winning. They won 64 games, 18 losses that year. And if I'm not mistaken, I mean, this guy had a pretty efficient season, 27 points on 47% from the field, 38 from 3 on 7 attempts, 87% from the line. And let me see what his true shooting is real quick. True shooting is, damn, where's true shooting? Oh, I see where true shooting is. His true shooting was, what is this? 58% from the field, true shooting. Like
58, 59.
58. So, but what I'm saying is not a terribly inefficient season, pretty efficient season. Dominant winning, right? They won pretty well that year, and he still capped out at being 4 in MVP voting.
My argument would be that season that you're talking about is closer to what Tatum's having this season. That's it. Like that season is closer to Tatum's current season as opposed to the Shea argument that I was bringing up.